All right, welcome to Shaw Spotlight. We have a little bit of a different format here for you. I'm here with Erin Beagle with Roots to Harvest. We are practicing social distancing. So I'm in my home, and Erin is in her workspace there because with Roots to Harvest, there's always work that needs to be done. There's always people that need food. So first of all, Erin, why don't you tell us about how Roots to Harvest has made a change, a pivot right now as to what you typically have been doing?
Pivot's a great word for it. So I think for those people who know Roots to Harvest normally does, you would not recognize what we do right now. So when the word came out initially about schools closing for this extra 2 weeks that was happening, that was one of the first big changes that happened in Ontario. We quickly realized that this would be an unexpected interruption for a lot of families and their food supply because schools, as we all know, are so much more than schools. And so like hundreds of kids in our city access daily breakfast, meal, and snack programs at the schools that are all run through volunteers or the SSPs or teachers. So with that gone, we quickly started having some side conversations with the organizations that normally organize or fund this sort of work and talk about like, how do we fill this gap? And we also realized that we're not going to have any school programs left. Like I don't have staff going into schools anymore, obviously. And all the work that we have been doing, like we bring in different classes into our kitchen. So that's all canceled. So now I also have these staff that, normally would have, and now we can redirect their efforts. So from that small conversation, we developed this idea around these family meal packages. And we're working with the Red Cross, with all of the school boards, with the DSAB housing tenants, resource units, with Evergreen, with Did You Drop In, to really try to get a broad reach around our city to get these out to. So every week, every Friday, we are packaging a package that has, like last week's was cereal, peanut butter, applesauce, muffins, a block of cheese, and granola bars. And then those went out to 8 different sites. So that's sort of like the immediate need. And so the other side is we decided we also need to have a large community meeting about what that was. So we had these little small conversations, and then we pulled together everybody that's sort of looking after food access and talked about what does this actually look like in Thunder Bay right now, like not just Food and Families, but Thunder Bay. And it's drastic.
It sounds super complicated. Like, where do you even start with trying to figure out this whole process?
So, yeah, it is complicated. And it's complicated by a couple of different things, because one is, how do we practice social distancing when we're doing this? And how do we make people also feel like that they have some dignity and some choice, and that they are like we are happy to see them. Like, it's such a weird feeling to be like, but don't come too near, because like it's a bad message. So that has been hard, I have to say, about those parts of it. And then I think the other thing is like everybody is just like making this up as we go along. So, we heard really quickly that if we just wait to get something perfect, we're never going to catch up. So we just have to start doing something, and it's going to change and be refined. So I think that that's really important. So what eventually started to happen was Roots to Harvest and its partners and took on this like sort of family food packages, like really directed towards people with kids. And then the RFDA has really stepped forward, as they always do, to take on the food bankers and like really help coordinate food banks who are really struggling because they have a lot of elderly volunteers, and their models of like picking things off the shelves had to be refined and changed. And so now all the food comes in hampers that's packed at the RFDA and goes out to these food banks. The food banks have a schedule. Just this morning, that's also going to change. So now food is going to come in hampers from Toronto. It's already going to be packed in those. It's going to come up to here. Then those are going to go out to food banks. And also the RFDA is going to start delivering those. That all has to go through 211 so that we know who, like, there are so many parts of this puzzle. And then we're also working really closely now with the Good Food Box, because that whole program served 400 people a month to like get fresh fruits and vegetables. A lot of those were seniors. So we're going to work with them to work in the 5 or 10 different sort of like housing courts where there's a lot of seniors that live, and continue to get access to fruit and vegetables and some other supplies that will like sort of go the distance. And then who knows? Like then after 4 weeks, like who knows? Or after 10 weeks, who knows? Like we feel like we're digging in right now for the next 10 weeks, 2 to 3 months. We hope that by then all these income supports that are being announced, both provincially and federally, will have kicked in for people, so that they can go to the stores when it's safe to purchase the food they need. And I think that, I mean, you would have noticed this, all the stores you go to, for those of us who have extra income or a line of credit or like credit cards, we could go and purchase extra food so that we don't have to go so often. But if you're living check to check and your money's only coming in once a month, or you live in a cash economy, that's just not a reality for so many people. So they couldn't go and stock up for $500 because that's all they get. Like there's not extra money to go and stock up. And that's a huge gap that's going to get filled in now. So when you go to the store and you can't get frozen vegetables, or you can't get cans of soup, to like last you, even if you do have, $40 extra, that's so disheartening for people. So really trying to also get the word out there of like, take what you need. Don't, I think we've heard that from lots, like there's no need to hoard right now. The food supply is okay. The delivery chain is okay. And we really need to take care of the people who are most vulnerable, because if COVID-19 gets into the vulnerable population, it will be devastating. It will be so devastating. There is no way to isolate people. There is nowhere to go. There is no way to protect them. Like it's just, it would be devastating.
Yeah, no, I hear you for sure. So how can our viewers help you? How can the community with the giant heart help Roots to Harvest? How can they help the food banks? What can we do?
Yeah, so good question. So I think there's a couple of things. So one is take the advice to stay home. Like that is good advice, and that is helping. I really want to stress out that like by people staying home and reducing contact, that is being such a huge help to this issue being resolved sooner than later. Because then we don't have to do this for 10 weeks. Then we can maybe do it for 8 weeks, or like who knows. Anyway, so stay home is one of them. That said, places like the Shelter House and the RFDA are quite desperate for healthy volunteers that can be reliable to go in. Both of those places have excellent screening, have excellent hygiene and protocols to like keep everybody safe. And so I want to encourage, people to like, it's okay in the small numbers, like they are controlling how many volunteers can go, so there's not crowds of people, but they really desperately do need the volunteers. So we're okay. Like I said, we have these program staff that would have been working otherwise, so we've just redirected them. So that's the other way. It doesn't help to like go into your cupboard and bring 2 cans of food. At this point, it's just too much interaction points. So instead of giving products, and I know that that's all some people can give, and that's such a nice, sentiment. But if you have any money to give, they all need money. Like all these organizations need money so they can wholesale food and just purchase, so that they're not going to grocery stores and clearing off shelves, in order to feed all these people, that they can do a bulk purchase order. The United Way and the Thunder Bay Community Foundation have started a community response action fund. I forget what it's called. But people can donate to this fund. All the fees are being absorbed by those organizations right now. So 100% of those donations go to the organizations that need them most. And they've got this really quick turnaround. So organizations can apply, it turns around in 3 to 5 days, the money gets released. So I have to really commend like our community-based organizations and, philanthropists for stepping up and changing how they do things too. And I think that's something that we've been trying to tell people, like, if we look at this problem as, how do we keep on doing the same thing? How do we deliver the same product? That's not going to help. It's like, we have to think of entirely different, radically different ways of tackling this so that we can get the best community response possible. And I think that Rooftop is a good example of that. If we just continue to do online worm composting workshops right now, that's not actually that helpful. I mean, maybe it's helpful for people at home. Like my kids would probably love that on Facebook, but this is more helpful. We have to change what we can do. I think the other thing that we're doing, I just want to mention, is like Roots to Harvest has a kitchen and the RFDA has a kitchen. And so we're using our kitchens to help offset the food needs and volunteer requirements at the Do Drop In and the shelter house. So if we're preparing sandwiches that then get taken back to the Do Drop In or the shelter house, so they don't need as many volunteers to prepare their food, because we're down to only 2 emergency meal programs. Grace Place has shut down its emergency meal programs so that it can concentrate on shelter. And the Salvation Army has done the same. They're still providing shelter, but not the daily mealie program.
Oh, wow. So what you guys are doing is, it's super integral to getting people fed.
I think so. And I think that we're just at the beginning of it. The people that we're accessing right now have almost always lived in poverty. And, that's a bigger problem. If we had, and I'll just say it, like if we had basic income already, maybe it wouldn't be such a big problem right now, or if we had affordable housing. So, those are 2 like foundational ways that we solve these problems in society. But so the people right now that we're serving have lived in poverty for a long time, and the stress of it, is really building up for them. But now we have thousands of people that have lost their jobs. And in Canada, we do live paycheck to paycheck, no matter what. Like, I do, you do, if we lose our paychecks, we lose our means to provide for our families. And that's really stressful. So I think that the need will go up in these different ways. And so everybody is bracing for that.
Great. Some really awesome information, Erin. So I know your Facebook page gets updated daily, it seems like. So for the best, most up-to-date information, would you recommend people go to Facebook?
I would, if they can. So Facebook for sure. We're trying to be pretty current in our things. 211 is on Facebook, the LSPC 211. They're extremely current. The only problem with Facebook is that if you miss that post, it just, it's hard to find things. So if you can go right to their pages and scroll through their page, I think it's helpful. There's all these new income supports that have been announced. 211 is trying to keep on top of that. The Women's Center and with Kinawea Legal Clinic is putting together a survival guide of here's sort of what to know that will get released really soon. So I think that those are the good places. Calling 211, like I said earlier, if people need food hampers, 211 is now the place to call to get that. That is separate from these family packages. We have these set places. People don't need to call 211 to get a family package. These will go out to the 8 places. Check our Facebook for that. But yeah, I think people now have to relearn how to find food a little bit. Where is it? How do we access it? Which I really feel for them, because if you don't have a phone, or if you don't have a way to get there, it's I just can't imagine the stress. The stress has got to really start wearing down on people.
For sure, for sure. Now, if you could leave our viewers with just a piece of advice or a comment or something that you think would be helpful to our viewers, what would it be?
Yeah. So in the words of our health minister, the awesome Patty Haidu, keep being kind to each other. People need kindness right now. And I think you and I just talked about the stress that this comes up for so many people. If we can continue to look out for our neighbors, if we can continue, to be generous where we can, if we can continue to just take a deep breath and then answer, our kids when they're talking to us, it's hard times for everybody, and kindness is really going to matter right now. And that might sound cheesy, but I think it'll go a long way. And I think that what's happening too is we can see Canada is being known for these caremongers, right? These articles have come out about the caremongers. And I love that that's what we're being known for in contrast to our neighbors, to the south, maybe where it's been a bit harder. So that would be my biggest message.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erin. Really great. I'm hoping to keep up to date with you, and maybe we can do more of these interviews and keep our community updated on how they can help in any different ways that they can. So thank you so much for your time today. I know you're very busy, so I'll let you get back to it.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
Just the one other thing I wanted to really quickly mention, just to give people an idea of the numbers. One of our baskets, we just found this out last night. So we did 330 baskets. They went to 330 families that fed 750 kids, and it represented 2,900 meals and 2,300 snacks. There are 2,900 more meals that happened as a result of those packages.
That's amazing. Kudos to you and kudos to your team. And you know, I like you said in the beginning, and you put it on your Facebook page. You don't know what you're doing. Like, you're taking it day by day,
Yeah.
minute by minute, hour by hour. So thank you so much for all the great work you do in the community, and a big thank you to your team as well. So we'll look forward to speaking
Okay.
with you again, Erin, and keep fighting the good fight. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.